Good morning. It's Friday again. All right. So where are we at today? Well, let's start with the Russell. We usually don't do that, um, which has been the outperformer, highly unusual, meaning there's been moments over the last, couple of years where it has, and then it always seemed to have fallen back. Not seem, it did fall back in a relatively large way. Maybe that won't be the case this time, but so we look at things, of course, more intermediate term as well as short term. And what I see right now is, and we're looking at the futures, we're going to look at the IWM. But what I see in the futures, and as you know, this covers overnight trading, the concept of igniting and ending. And this is I wouldn't say perfect, but a pretty good pattern of potentially ending. And I wouldn't call it an extremely large, wide range bar, but it's relatively wide compared to these. The good thing is it's consolidated a bit for a few days, never closed below a prior day's low. And yesterday was a wider bar. And going today, we're just starting out here, um, going sideways, doing nothing. Now, as you know, today is options expiration, and I don't think the market is going to do anything of significance. The other markets that we thought yesterday were going to be range bound, they were. Um, and I think this one is going to be range bound today. And if it is, and we get this kind of a pattern, is there a possibility of a pullback? Andre, there's a possibility of anything on any given day. So if there is a pullback today, I don't believe it's going to be something of significance, but I'm going to talk about interest rates a little bit, but let's get through this. So what we're going to look for in this on Monday, right, if this closes like this, is what we refer to as a pattern suggesting a breakout bar failure. And I've seen this over the years. It's not a pattern that forms a lot, but and it's not something you're going to short. It gives you a heads up that a pullback is coming. So when you say is a pullback today, I don't think so today. But if this pattern of a consolidation and a range expansion bar followed by an inside bar, when it breaks the low, it starts pulling back. And I'm telling you, I've seen this happen, 30 years doing this. Not too often, but when it happens, and I've showed this, I don't know, was it last year or the year before in the S&Ps, and it preceded a relatively significant pullback. When I say significant, that we haven't had, well, I think last year there was like a 20% pullback or close to it in one of the indices, but for the most part, they've been 3 to 5%. But that's pretty meaningful on a short term basis. So this is something that we'll be looking for to see where this ends the day today. And then going into next week, you'll remember this and we'll see on Monday what actually happened. But let's take a look at IWM. And rather than a wider bar, we see a gap up, it went higher. So now we've got an unfilled gap below here. And we'll see, we get an inside day. And then if does it break the inside day's low? And the good thing, is that it's got this congestion area. So when we look at, you know, charts, of course, on multiple time frames, and we expand or contract the data, and we see an extension. So here's another pattern that is supportive of the idea that some kind of pullback is likely. This has been going up for a few days. The consolidation is the good part that preceded the acceleration. So acceleration always creates a void. And so, of course, this is an area of support. Now, if we're at a short term high in the markets here, and why would that be when everything looks so good? Well, options expiration. That kind of pins things in a certain area, and that's what we've seen in the S&Ps is they're just stuck. Um, so when we see acceleration, kind of wide range bar ending concept, you typically get pullbacks that often they stop at support, but then they break it. So again, it's another thing to be watching for. We don't have evidence of that happening yet, but I'm talking about what we'll be looking for, today and then potentially into next week. All right. So let's look at the other markets. We always do. And so S&Ps. Yesterday morning, the expectation was this thing was going to be range bound between here and here. That's what happened. It's just marking time going nowhere. And it's in an uptrend. Yes. But look at the distance between the highs. This one a little bit better than this one. When we look at a trend, one of the attributes that we observe for is to what level or degree did it exceed a prior swing high? And this, the indicator-based methodology where they look for their bearish divergences and their oscillators, that is not a great signal that a trend is going to end or a pullback. It's actually a quite bad one. But just observing the price action, when we notice the distance between the highs is relatively small, right, it tells us momentum is slowing. That's all. It doesn't mean don't buy the pullback. But now look at the way this is advanced, and this could all be options expiration related. I suspect it is. And not every options expiration isn't this way. But this one, we see a lot of overlapping bars and chop. It's going nowhere. So major support. It made a new high. That's great. It's just not a pattern that is tradable, in my opinion. Intraday, yes, but patterns like this, swing trading, there's no advantage to it. This is indecision. Okay, so let us continue. I just got to looking for another screen here because I know I'm going to be getting to that soon. Get that out of the way and just put that over there. Okay, so let's look at our other markets. So we always look at the ETF, and we could look at SPX, which we do. And here was the same concept, range bound market. It's going nowhere. We don't trade that, not from a swing trading perspective. Intraday, sure. Now, and I think it was somewhat impressive that the markets held up as long as it did, up at the highs. The dip got bought. There's an unfilled gap. One of the, day-to-day trades is the gap fill and shorting that it go down there and fill the gap, and then buyers come in at that support and it goes back up. And so while it's been going nowhere, it did, start out here and had that little end of day rally, and then it gapped up close to resistance, and the dip got bought into like nothing. Maybe there was a trader pivot line there. I don't remember. Let's look from yesterday. Yeah, so there was yesterday that little reference point there, and then this little high area, and then it went sideways for a while. And so one of the things that we talk about in MT Live is patterns are a representation of what other people think. What are their expectations? And so now it gaps up. The minor dip gets bought. It creates a pivot. That gets bought. It makes a new high on the day, and it doesn't keep going. So longs at some point are going to say, this is, as you're processing the price action or your latest, greatest oscillator or, proprietary indicator, at some point it communicates, what? I don't know what's going on here, but it should have went up, but it's not. And at that point, some are just going to be patient. It's going to work out. Or as you get closer to the end of the day, it's like, let me just get out of this thing. It's just not happening, and I'm not sure what's going to happen. And that's what happened near the end of the day yesterday, where it didn't go up. Traders got impatient, or they had patience, of course. And then eventually it was like, hey, let me just step aside and reassess what's happening, because what was suggested in the morning is not happening now. And it sold off a little bit. And in the context of the daily chart, is just marking time going nowhere. So as we look at that, where's it at today? It's holding up near the high. Well, give or take, you can see where it's at, in the middle of yesterday's range, and it's probably going to bobble around somewhere in here, wherever it's going to go. All right, so let me take a peek at what the extremes are on SPX. And you can see yesterday nothing was hit. And I said the majority of the time they are not hit. Better than 95% as a guide. It's pretty damn good as to where it's likely that markets aren't going to be going there on any given day. Right? Not 100%. Now, this is odd. The spreads are a little, at that strike that I'm looking at right now, it's a little wider than what it normally is. That's interesting. Which is, again, interestingly, the same as yesterday. And because markets jiggled around, they went up and then went nowhere. So I'm going to tell you, it's 68.80 to 68.85. So let's just bring it up a little bit just for the 5. And it's still below 6,900, which, again, it ain't going down there today. So, as I always say, take that with a grain of salt. That's my opinion. But with 6,900, a whole number ahead of that, even if it dips down today, to travel from here to here, that's a huge move for one day based on the average true range of what's going on here. And options expiration, it's gonna hold that level or bounce from there, even if it can get there. Now, the top side, it'd be interesting to see where that's at. Go look at these. They always mix up the end of the month. Different ones here. Let's look at, say, 69.85. Okay. And so again, we looked at spiders. They were about here. This is so far away. It's still in an uptrend. Put spreads are the better way to go. If the market should rally this morning up to the top of the trading range, something above 7,000 should be good. Well, there you have it. There's that. All right, let's look at the laggard, the Qs. Let me look at the futures first. Marking time, going nowhere. We talked about the trend line traders. All right. And I gotta click that again. And the contraction that was happening, and it's moved above the line, slightly below the line. And if you do it as we do and just look to the left, it's just going nowhere. Right? And this is reality, not drawing diagonal lines. It's just chopping back and forth. And for the moment, it's up near the highs. And as you well know, I'm sure, the mags are not doing anything. And here's another sign, I think, of upside capitulation. Now, this has been going up for a while, and it gaps up on great news. Taiwan Semiconductor, they're going to build a gigantic factory, the profits, AI, blah, blah, blah. And after this moving up for a while, it gaps up and it closes lower. And, it's up here today, back up again. So keep an eye on that. It created a big window here. And NVIDIA that had a good, well, yet the day before, and it looked like it was going down. And that gapped up and it's going nowhere. So there's a lot of charts, not doing much of anything. There's tons of bottoming patterns that have been doing okay, some not so okay. Uh, and the Dow is still just consolidating, marking time back and forth. And you can see there are the diamonds, and they're not doing much of anything today either. So kind of low expectations for anything meaningful today. And again, crude oil, big move, pullback. There should be buyers on pullback. Pretty messy chart. Not anything that we'd be interested in. And again, gold taking a little bit of a rest there, over the last few days. Still beautiful uptrend. And silver, a little extended, accelerating. Probably needs to consolidate a bit. You can see the 65-minute there is chopping around. So maybe it pulls back a little bit further. There'll be buyers on the dip, of course. Minor supports down there somewhere. There'll be buyers. And Bitcoin. I think this is the best setup, Bitcoin and Bitcoin related, that looks similar to this. You got a breakout, it's pulling back. There should be buyers. What was resistance becomes support. Basics, bottoming tail bar, some kind of reversal if you're not in it already. Suggests it's going higher. And Ethereum, right, same story. Right. Not as decisive a breakout, but it cleared this high. It stalled at the next one. Looks good. Suggests it's going higher. Now, I think is based on, so I got a chart here. Based on what interest rates are doing, look at the 2-year here. Right? These are bond prices. And it's coming down to support, which means yields are going up, which means that there's growing expectations that the Fed's not going to do anything. Will do. And so what Alex is telling me now to look at the euro as a 1, 2, 3 short setup is directly in line with what I'm saying right now. Meaning, if this is going down, it means interest rates are going up, which means there's a growing expectation that the Fed isn't going to do anything in the short term. That's what this market is telling us. And so if these short-term interest rates are going up, the dollar should be going up, because when short-term interest rates go up, it supports the dollar. So as we look at the dollar, and this was a dividend, but look at what it's doing here as the dollar's going up. So, which means the euro and other currencies should go down. Now we're talking intermarket relationships. So here's a consolidation. After that move down as the dollar moved up, it went sideways. You got a wide range bar breakdown, and it's an inside day so far. Now it's this day just beginning, but a wide range bar creates a void. The 2 bar creates a consolidation. There it is. And if it triggers, the next extension to the downside. So lots going on today. I think not doing much of anything, I think. And I think you're going to see a growing theme of the Fed boohoo isn't going to lower interest rates, and things moved up a lot, and some money coming off the table. And we'll see what happens next week. To you, Dan.
Good morning. Happy Zero DTE Day. Yeah, there's more excitement in semis again here. That's obviously why the Qs are outperforming. Diamonds are flat. Yeah, very few alarms going off. Be a morning. Yeah, I'd like it even better if we get an inside day. And then Monday over the high. Back of my alarm, I just moved stop break even, up alarm, buy setup we bought yesterday. Perfect and clean. A little breakdown, flat 20, rising 50, gap up, excessive, pull back, reverse, support, bullish weekly, bullish monthly. It's a no-brainer entry. You hit the mouse. So now we're in management mode. BMO. Yeah, that one's stronger because it's closing breakout. Looks like all-time highs. How's our Northern Trust doing? Nothing. But that's the only bank we're in. I had Paul low alarm with gold, but our stop is under these two bars. So still got another $4 to our trail. That's it on alarms. Amazing. Nothing, pretty slow. Earnings, couple more banks. Banks always start out earnings season. Wow, that did gapped up to 215. If that did gap to 215, that would have been a great 5-minute high. But that's an ugly reversal. Just fell $7 from there. Now it's a 0 DTE call spread idea. But the spreads will be nuts at the open. So I'm not going to even look for at least 5 minutes. 221 bullish gap, PNC, but you need a pullback. Wow, something's wrong with these bars. That doesn't just ignore those 3 bars. Looks like a gap down and it's slowly churning up, but it's still a bearish gap down, so no interest. STT, another regional, gapping down 133. And that was a beautiful pattern. Little gap reversal, closing breakout. But 133, there's nothing to do with it now. This is not earnings, but Trump is fooling around in the energy sector. So the news said this and said we're supposed to benefit from the news in terms of them having to auction off. They're requiring, I don't know, people to auction some power. I guess he's trying to make these AI companies get their own power supply. But 325, nothing to do. It's a bearish gap. EST gapping under a green bar. That's a call spread idea. I mean, I had this on my list for a beautiful 123. Have we got an inside bar? You got a downside shakeout. You got 20 and 50 starting to flatten out. That's a bottoming pattern. The gap most of it. So yeah, MU's more excitement. KHC, what's the news on this? Not earnings. I think it got a downgrade, but no pattern. KB Hunt had earnings. 201, that's a call spread idea. We are still long CHRW, which looks great. So hope that doesn't get down. I don't see any prints. UXO had some type of news, bearish gap. Now see, that one could be a condor because it's gapping under all that resistance. But if there's any juice down here at 20, you would do a 26.20 Condor. Those are all their earnings. Tilray dog, marijuana. I got an alarm at $10. Curve, we're in from yesterday. And we also, well, we made our, no, we did two of them, put spreads. One, we took our money earlier in the week, and then we put on another one for next week. And so that's a $3. Looks good. Medtronic, we're already in. Another buy setup and reversal, looks good. Yeah, we had a put spread on this. This is a Bitcoin mining stock. So nothing to do with that now. It's junk. WIGMI's the ETF for miners. That's holding up substantially better. We're long this in the ETF letter, and we're also long Ether. Both look good. I'm short puts that expired today actually on Ether. I got the 23.5s and the 23s. I'm just gonna let it go out at full profit. I don't even feel like paying a penny. Lumina bottoming pattern breakout. Love to get an inside day. IP, that's a bull rectangle following a 180 breakout. That kind of looks like a magnet to the 200. APP, it's a bear 123. Let's set an alarm at 6:03. Right, it's a duplicate UHS. That's a sloppy Climo. It'd be a better put spread. I think I looked yesterday. Let me look again. I think they're spreading. 195s. Oh, I did look yesterday. Yeah, they're spreading in the weeklies. But 30-minute high could be a day trade. ASTS, it's gapping up. Now, but for the gap up, Thomas, I would have said I prefer a 1, 2, 3 because it's up, down, up, down. It's sloppy, not tight. So now that it's gapping up, you just got to watch a pullback. CBS, it's an inverse heading shoulder, sloppy one. You got two left shoulders, two right shoulders, head. The only problem is you don't have a big void, but let's look at the weekly. Well, yeah, the weekly, maybe 80. Well, it's the same target. 84. I mean, it'd be a great put spread. I like yesterday's range expansion engulfing bar. 79 puts. Let's keep an eye on that for a put spread for next week. I'll watch it the first half hour. UAMI, bottoming pattern. MET-C, bottoming. MCO was a nice bull rectangle yesterday, but closed with a topping tail, 5. Strong uptrend, consolidating. Kemper, that's a bear, 1, 2, 3, 4. I will set an alarm. Kemper, 38, 30. Uh, Not a single alarm going off. Usually I get a few. And else here is on my list, bottoming pattern. Um, 5-minute high, not bad. Got a closing breakout yesterday. Range expansion, engulfing 5 bars, void. That ain't bad. Hey, our Northern Cross, cool. Let's move in there. Let me get rid of that. Northern Trust. Looks good. We're in management mode. Oh, let's just set new alarms. 149 and 146.50. So after 30 minutes of trading, I'll move the stop under this 15-minute pivot right there. Tilray low alarm. Look at that dog. I actually sold puts on it yesterday. This sector, it just shake your head. It always seems to disappoint. That's just Stravos talking about MU. Yeah, I mean that's from consolidation. So that looks higher. Stop yesterday's low or day trade stop would be today's low. It's bullish. It's bullish. Yeah, Bitcoin's weakening here. Wow, look at that BMNR. Good thing we stopped out yesterday. Yuck. Selling 618. All right. This, I mean, for me, 18 cents on a $600 stock. It's not exciting enough for me. Blackout. Yeah, that one, I said over this red bar was fine, but it ran a lot. So that's a continuation pattern. So like I would not have bought over that green bar. The entry was over that red bar. And then yesterday was your danger. App alarm. Hope it closes like this. I'm looking short of Monday. CBS here down $1 now. Well, now it's a 1, 2, 3. Hope it closes like that. EMY, nothing. Our Medtronic, we're in. Nothing. Akamai, we adjusted. Looks good. I already moved stuff. Break even. Our curve is fine. VST would be a call spread, but there's going to be no juice for today at 180, so I'm not going to even look. MTB turned flat, but no pattern. ENC, bullish gap, excessive, pulling in. JB Hunt, a mess. Let's check our CHRW. Wow, holding well. Didn't